There were a lot of awesome things to come out of PSX, but one of the coolest announcements was definitely The Last of Us Part 2, and boy does the gaming community have a lot to say about it. So everybody put on their tinfoil hats because we're about to jump down a giant hole of theories, speculation, and looking way too far in between the lines. I'm Andrew the New Guy, and today we're going to talk about 5 of the craziest Last of Us Part 2 fan theories. And just a quick heads up, there is definitely going to be some spoilers in this video, so if you for some reason haven't played The Last of Us yet, I'd recommend stopping this video right now, go run out to your local video game store, pick up a copy, go home, play it, then once you finish it, come back and watch this video. Don't worry, I'll be here when you get back. And starting with number 5, there's a theory that Ellie is having a child or has already had a child. This is definitely an interesting one. The gaming community has a few different reasons as to why they think this would be. But I think what really sparked this theory is the comic book cover that you can find in Uncharted 4. The comic is called The Last of Us American Daughters. The cover of the comic shows a pregnant woman wearing a gas mask and holding a gun. Now you could say that the woman on the cover does resemble Ellie a bit, and someone did point out that the woman on the cover does look a little petite, and Ellie, even at the age of 19 or 20, still does kind of look petite. But the one big argument that I've seen for this is the fact that Ellie is gay, or at least in Left Behind it is alluded to that she is gay. And if she is gay, whose child would this be? She probably wouldn't willingly have a child with a man because she's not into them, and the internet has come up with something to counter argue that, and that's that maybe she was artificially inseminated, either by the Fireflies or some other organized group. Maybe the US government still exists and they're trying to find a cure, and they've kind of caught wind of Ellie being immune to the disease. And there is a leaked piece of concept art that can kind of go along with this theory. It shows Ellie sitting with a guitar and there are armed men behind her. And this does look like the Ellie from The Last of Us Part 2 trailer. Her jeans are ripped just how they are in the trailer. There is the guitar. Only thing different is her shirt, but no one really wears the same shirt, so we can dismiss that. But what's really interesting in this concept art is the armed men behind her. They don't look like bandits or scavengers, but they look like an organized group. So maybe these men kidnapped Ellie and artificially inseminated her to try and find a cure. Or maybe she actually did have a child on her own, whether it be with a loved one or not, and maybe these men kidnapped Ellie's child thinking that maybe the kid is also immune to the disease just like Ellie is, and maybe they want to try to extract some type of cure from the child if they can't get it from Ellie, which would set up Ellie wanting to, kill these men to get her child back, which, would make sense. If someone were to steal your kid, you probably want to murder everyone just to get that kid back. I mean, it's their kid, you're supposed to love them. But someone did point out that in the trailer, you really don't get a good look at Ellie's body as a whole. The guitar she's playing does cover up her stomach, and as soon as she moves the guitar away, the trailer cuts away so you can't see her stomach. And like Neil Druckmann said, in this game, Ellie is running on hate, and having your child stolen or being experimented on is definitely a legitimate reason to be fueled by that hate and want to go on a murderous rampage. And up next, on number 4, another theory that I came across is that you play half the game as Joel and the other half as Ellie. This one seems a lot less likely than others, and it also draws from other theories that I'm going to mention in the video. So this one has Joel and Ellie both alive and living at Tommy's Dam in Jackson. The Fireflies are obviously a little upset that Joel, murdered all of them and stole Ellie away so they couldn't find a cure for the disease. And after years of hunting them down, they finally track down Joel and Ellie. So then they launch an attack on the dam, kidnap Ellie, and leave. Now this is where you would play as Joel for the first half of the game. You're trying to track down Ellie and the group of Fireflies that took her. And eventually you end up finding her, and then this is where the trailer would kick in. One shot of the trailer shows the Firefly logo spray painted on a sign. So this theory is assuming that this is like a safe haven of sorts for the Fireflies, or maybe like a base of operations, or an outpost maybe. Well, it's a safe haven until Joel shows up, because Joel is a wall of murder, really. And this is where we kick into part 2 of the theory. Somehow here, people think Joel will die, most likely from the main bad guy. And instead of Ellie escaping, she kills what Fireflies are left, and it's speculated that this is where the trailer picks up. After Joel is dead and Ellie killed whoever is left there at the outpost, it's here that she decides she needs to kill the rest of the Fireflies. And this is where she starts to see Joel as a ghost or a part of her imagination, which kind of makes sense. Her and Joel have been through a lot, and seeing him murdered and murdering a bunch of people herself could have triggered something in her brain. No sane person should walk away from something like that and be completely fine, at least not mentally anyway. Something in your head has to snap, and that's where the theorist thinks she's starting to see and speak with Joel to kind of cope with his passing. And then from here you would start the second part of the game where you play as Ellie going to take down the rest of the Fireflies. But the only big flaw with this theory is that Naughty Dog has already stated that Ellie is the main playable character, but maybe the part where you play as Joel is actually fairly quick and is right right in the beginning of the game. And this is Last of Us Part 2, which does insinuate that it is a direct continuation of the story from the first game. So the Fireflies really having it out for Joel and Ellie would make sense, because that was a big deal at the end of the first game. So that coming right back into Part 2, it makes perfect sense. And up next, number 3, this theory is definitely more grounded and probably makes the most sense. And this is where Joel really convinces Ellie that the Fireflies are bad. This theory is pretty interesting to think about and would be pretty cool to see. We all know what happens at the end of The Last of Us. Joel can't deal with the fact of losing Ellie, even for the sake of humanity, so he takes Ellie. Ellie does question Joel about it, and Joel just kind of brushes it off. And most players speculate that Ellie does kind of know, maybe doesn't 100% know, but has an idea that Joel pulled some shit, and this kind of builds off of that, where Joel, just to kind of prevent Ellie from hating him and realizing that he actually is a bad person, that he just lied to Ellie about the Fireflies, and he told Ellie that they were horrible and that he did kill them, and the reason why was, whatever he came up with to kind of make him look like the good guy and make the Fireflies look bad. And seeing that Joel did murder all of these people, it would make sense that the Fireflies are hunting down Joel and Ellie. This would make sense as a direct continuation of the first game, which is why I really think this theory isn't one that we should ignore. And as I said before, Naughty Dog did say that Ellie is driven by hate in this game. So maybe that hate is a false hate that Joel wrongfully drove into Ellie's head after the Fireflies kill Joel, or maybe after the Fireflies kill someone that Ellie has grown close to, or just whatever the Fireflies did to kind of set Ellie off. A lot of people after beating The Last of Us really do feel that Joel is the actual bad guy of that game. While he isn't evil, it's really his selfishness that really dooms the world. The Fireflies could have found a cure, and Joel just didn't want to lose a daughter again. Once again, this theory is definitely one of the more grounded and safe ones, and would make perfect sense as the base of the plot for The Last of Us Part 2. And up next, number 2, this one is my favorite one personally, and I kind of hope that this is real, and I kind of hope that this is the route that Naughty Dog takes. Here, Joel is dead. And there are a bunch of little things in the trailer that kind of allude to this, that you really have to pick apart and look at it. First off, think of Part 1. There can't be a Joel without an Ellie. They are kind of one entity. They are Joel and Ellie. And in The Last of Us 2 trailer, it seems that they are very distant, and not even in the sense of like they lost touch or they don't get along, but almost as if they're not on the same plane of reality. I mean, look at when we first see Joel. He's walking out of the light. His silhouette just kind of appears out of nowhere as he walks into the house, and we can all kind of make the connection to death here. When we say we stay away from the light, or light at the end of the tunnel, the light being whatever life after death thing that you believe in. First Last of Us really is about a father dealing with the loss of his daughter, so maybe this game will be a daughter dealing with the loss of her father. While Joel isn't Ellie's father, he definitely is the closest thing that she has to a father figure, and losing Joel would probably be devastating to Ellie. It's essentially her losing a parent. And moving forward in the trailer, we get a good look at how Joel is dressed, like the condition of his clothing, and one thing that really stands out to me is his hands, but I'll get to that in a minute. So we saw Joel really lived in the first Last of Us, and what he was really capable of. He has no problem killing a ton of people just to ensure Ellie and his survival. He was a mess for most of that game, even right in the beginning when we see him, like where he lives, even there in his home, he looks kind of beat up and dirty. But in this trailer, his clothes don't seem like that at all. They seem actually very clean, like oddly clean, like he isn't killing people left and right. But then you see Ellie's clothes and they aren't clean or new at all. I mean, yeah, they're bloodied and dirty because she just killed one or more people, but besides the blood, they do seem old and worn. Her jeans are ripped, her shoes look like she's been wearing them since the first game, and her shirt has the sleeves cut off. And overall, she just looks kind of dirty, like she's living in the Last of Us universe. She looks like how you would expect anyone in that game to look like, just living the way they do. And Joel just looks way too clean for someone that lives like the way that the people in The Last of Us live. And then there's the hands. Growing up, my father always told me that you can tell a lot about a person just by looking at their hands. Whether they're soft or calloused or just permanently dirty. Now, you can only kind of see Joel's hands a little bit when he's holding a gun, but when you really look at them, they don't look dirty, they don't look worn, they don't look calloused, they don't look rough. They just kind of look like hands. And you know that Joel would definitely have very worn, dirty, and rough hands. I mean, just look at him in the first game. Look at the amount of people that he's killed. Look at what he went through to protect himself and to protect Ellie. And then you look at Ellie's hands, which are very worn, very dirty. They're bloodied. So that right there is just kind of not a big red flag, but something to look at. The ghost of Joel would probably be Joel in like his perfect image. So he's clean, his hands aren't dirty and disgusting. And then there's also what Joel says to Ellie, and not just what he says, but how he says it.
What are you doing, kiddo? You really gonna go through with this?
He says it kind of calmly and very passive, almost as if it's actually Ellie asking herself, not actually Joel. So maybe Ellie just sees Joel as a ghost and it's like a part of her subconscious and it's just kind of who she talks to. So Joel being dead or being a ghost in this game could definitely be a thing. I could totally see it happening. I mean, we're just gonna have to wait and see. The game is a little far off. And then finally at number 1, for this point, we really just wanted to mention some of the other less fleshed out theories. There are some straight up silly theories as well, like Ellie dies and you finish the game as Joel, and one that says that Ellie is dead from the start of the game, but that doesn't really make sense because Naughty Dog has already said that the main playable character is Ellie, so I highly doubt that that's real. And people are also pushing the idea of playing as other characters, and this is something that I kind of wanted to see. Like, I was kind of on this trail of thought a few months ago before we even knew that Last of Us Part 2 was a thing. There's one really interesting theory where maybe you're playing as a Firefly and Joel and Ellie are actually the bad guys, which would be cool to play the game from that perspective and would honestly be terrifying, because looking at Joel and Ellie from that perspective, like, they're probably terrifying. They're able to just murder all of your friends and take them out single-handedly without even trying, really. And while there are some far-fetched theories out there, there are definitely some that are pretty believable and shouldn't be ignored, but I really want to hear what you guys think. So head on down to the comments and sound off about what you guys think we might see in The Last of Us Part 2. And hitting the like button really helps us out, and if you didn't already know, we put out videos like this every single day, and subscribing is the best way to see them. Once again, I'm Andrew the New Guy, and I'll see you next time right here on gameranx.